Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Good morning. You are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQD 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. I am Catherine Bell, and this is the Dream Journal, a weekly show where we explore the healing powers of your nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with you. In the words of Carl Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Today's music, created fresh for you this morning by Rick Kleffel, is called Tragiphone. You can find this music posted at narrativespecies.com, which you can listen to for reading conversation. Wonderful background music. Look for that at narrativespecies.com. Dream poetry, labyrinths, and the realm of the Earth Goddess. Stay with us today as we talk to Jennie Meyer. This is Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. The Dream Journal is also a podcast, so you can look for that in all of your regular podcast places. And you can go to the KSQD website at ksqd.org/the-dream-journal. So you can look for the Dream Journal, review it, please, and most importantly, tell your friends. That's really how the show grows, is by people telling people, and it gives you opportunity to tell your friends how meaningful you find your dreams. And weren't you just looking for an opening to begin that conversation anyway? Tell them about your podcast, The Dream Journal. So I always start with my personal dream work, and I had a dream this morning, hot off the presses, and I can't find where I wrote it down. But that's okay, because it's still, the image is with me, and I'm just going to go with what the image has for me right now. And I'm going to school of some kind, and there's this young black man, it's like a community college or maybe UC Santa Cruz kind of situation, and he has arranged a system where if you are a person of color, that you can check a box, and they will make sure that the classes you're in have a certain percentage, like a minimum percentage of people of color, because, to see similar faces is so important. I was a scientist and went to UC Santa Cruz for my astrophysics PhD starting in '85. And one of the conversations is how few women there are in sciences. And the conversation was that if there's even just a few women in your program, then it helps so much to have some people that you can relate to. It doesn't necessarily mean to be a lot, but if there's a few, and I think this dream was somewhere along those lines. And the whole the so-called original sin of racism in the U.S. is a really deep and difficult problem. But there's a lot of human nature involved, and that's part of why it's persists, because human nature is persistent. But there are programs, and I don't know what this dream is telling me. I really don't. But there's something about acknowledging those parts of myself, because of course this black man is a part of me, in the projective method of dream work. And so there's something about part of me that perhaps I have been ignoring, and maybe I can learn to include that more, just to bringing up some of those ideas or those parts of myself that I don't usually appreciate or value as much as I should. So that's what I've been mulling about. Okay, so let me say, all right, resurfacing from the dream. It's funny how you go in and I'm like, whoa, where am I? So during the last 20 minutes of the show, we will be taking call-ins. So you can get ready for that in about 35 minutes. But right now, if you want to send a question for me or for Jenny, you can send an email to onair@ksqd.org. That's onair@ksqd.org. And Rick Kleffels engineering the show, and he'll be checking the email throughout. So I'd like to say welcome to Jenny. Let me see, make sure we get you unmuted. Okay. Hello, Jenny.
Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Good. So good to have you on the show.
So nice to be here. Thank you.
Yay. Okay, far out. Jennie Meyer is a certified dreamwork professional from the Institute of Dream Studies. Jenny's experience teaching yoga and meditation lend an embodied and centered approach to her dreamwork. Her Masters of Divinity from Harvard Divinity School, also her Buddhist studies and passion for spirituality, including the ways of the Earth Goddess, allow her to be an open receiver for each individual's dream. A published poet, Jenny is versed in the world of symbol and metaphor, the language of dreams, and her poetry is published in Tidelines, an anthology of Cape Ann poets, and numerous poetry journals. And her beautiful webpage is at thedreamnest.co. So Jennie Meyer. Hi, Jenny.
Hi. So nice to be here finally to talk with you.
Absolutely. Well, I met Jenny last year at the virtual IASD conference, which this year will not be virtual. We will be in person at Tucson.
Yay.
And just so wonderful to meet her. And I was just really struck with her presence. And so I was excited to find out that she is also a practitioner. So I wonder if you can start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with dreams. What first got your attention?
Oh, well, that's a long story, but I'll shorten it to a few pivotal moments. First off, when I was 3 years old or younger, I don't know, like my first dream I remember was a very impactful dream. A wolf came down the hill and in through my open window and bit a chunk of my head off and ran out the window and back up the hill with it. Oh. And I went to my brother next room down and had a massive headache and my head hurt. And I said, John, a wolf has bitten out a chunk of my head. And he said, go back to bed. It's just a dream.
But you had physical pain when you woke up?
I did, yeah. So that stuck with me. But also I had lots of dreams. And I had a best friend, we said, from the time we were in our mother's bellies and until we went all the way to college. And we would share our dreams together. We would walk downtown and one would share the dream on the way down. And then on the way back, the other would share, their dream. And so that was my early experience of dream work without really knowing what it was. Oh, wow. And just throughout my life, I've had some pivotal moments, a dry and hard time when I loved teaching English in Taiwan for one summer when I was about 20, but it was a hard time for me. And I had a dream that was, I just woke up with basically a life koan in my mind, which was, ours is the secret sacred waterfall. The mist comes down. Is that what separates us? And even though it was talking about separation still, it wasn't like, and we're together, yay, now life will be good. It definitely kept me going and knowing that there was a union, a place of union. And I just had to uncover what that mist was. And so that was, in a way, a long search.
Well, that's like a kind of poetry right there. Can you say that again? I want to soak in that for a second.
Mm-hmm. Ours, O-U-R-S, ours is the secret, sacred waterfall. The mist comes down. Is that what separates us? Mm. And I actually did see a Jungian analyst a couple different times in my life, and he said, well, mist doesn't come down. And interestingly, I don't think dreams have to follow the rules of physics, but at the same time, the brain is up, the heart is down, the body is down, and I was in one situation in my life where I was maybe making, a choice that wasn't the best for me, and I came out of the building, and massive amounts of fog, I guess, but it was like mist just poured over a building and then came down into the path. So
I was going to say, I see mist coming down fairly frequently on Santa Cruz.
Well, thank you.
Of course, I do. Maybe he's an East Coaster, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because So, but you did have this experience of seeing the mist coming down. So it was almost like a precognition there in some way, perhaps.
Yeah, it's just all sort of, I just feel like it interweaves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In fact, you were telling me at one point about a kind of a precognitive dream, a kind of a reading. I don't know if you want to share some of that now.
Oh, I think that was when I went to a psychic. But I have had, well, and she said that I would be giving a speech, giving a talk in a distant city.
Well.
And I was like, absolutely not. There is no chance.
Well, where are you sitting right now, Jenny?
Well, I actually am not in my home in Rockport because it turns out I didn't realize when we scheduled this that it's my daughter's vacation from college, so they're skiing right now, and so I'm up in Vermont. But you're over in Santa Cruz, so
right.
There's
several distant cities involved here, it seems like, yes. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do have lots of precognitive dreams that make with like one item and so it does make me want to learn more about it.
What do you mean one item?
Well, like most of the stuff of the dream won't necessarily be truly precognitive, but there'll be one thing. So like in terms of being able to see it as something that I could affect in the future, which maybe isn't the point. It would be hard to pick out that one thing from the dream in advance.
Right.
But I think maybe that's not the point.
Okay. Well, we had our guest last week was all about precognition, and it's kind of opened my eyes a little bit to the possibilities. And
I'll go back
he
and
says
listen.
something similar, that you won't know if it's precognitive till later. Then
Right.
what use is it?
Yeah, but it does teach us very interesting lessons.
Well, yes,
about the time-space continuum and our connection to it.
So you're a poet, a dream poetess,
I
if you like.
am.
I wonder if this would be a good time to share one of your poems, or what is?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Right. I've been going back and forth about which poems I should share.
Good. It's always good I always find it's best to wait until the moment, like when I'm pull up here at the front of the microphone, I'm like, which dream will I talk about? I don't know, whatever comes up to me. So
that's sort of like the dream I had last night, where there were these strange things in test tubes that looked like eggs that were only fertilized at the last moment. So I think that's related.
Oh, interesting. I love that. Okay. So what's alive for you right now as you just take a moment?
Right now, I think I'll start with, so I had a recurring dream every 7 years that was really, for a lot of my life, that was really about disembodiment. I'd find pieces of a body rising up like frost heaves from the earth on the patio of my childhood home, and I had done it. And the authorities were coming and would find out it was me, and it was awful, and I'd wake up and believe it was true when I woke up. That when you can't shake the dream. I didn't want to tell anyone because that sounds awful, right? Like but through a writing course a few years ago, before I started doing my work with IDS, the Institute for Dream Studies, I kept writing about it. And this course is by Nadia Colburn. It's called Align Your Story, and it's online. So it's, and it's all about aligning your story and finding your voice. And I realized I was cutting up my agency, my voice, my own self-integration wasn't happening because I wasn't fully claiming and accessing and vocalizing my voice, And so I think the first dream that I'll read is not about that specifically, but this ties into everything we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so this is a poem about a dream, or a dream.
So it's about a dream. It's about two dreams. One was about trying to stuff doves into a tube of blue solution. I had one down in, and I was trying to shove the other one down, but then realized they would die. And I set them free. And also, around that same period, I like to tie in what's happening, the dreams that are happening at the same time. A massive snake in another dream followed a woman wherever she went, sort of the classic shadow dream. And so I sort of have been playing with those two and working on my own with those two images, and they make their way into multiple poems of mine now. And so here's one that's ironically also inspired by another more recent course I took, meditation sort of, and writing online opportunity with Nadia Colburn, and with a prompt from Lucille Clifton, her poem, The Light That Came to Lucille Clifton. So this poem is called The Voice That Comes to Jennie. The voice that comes to Jennie comes in hands cupped with birds, a nest of fingers flapping over keys, furious to shift and unshift, to make the shells of capital small and to insist the small enlarge, embolden, fly from the page and into the sky and leafy world. The voice speaks in doves, in hawks, in the sweet beat of wings and the gutting of flesh. The voice was faint at first, weak peck of wavering chick, but the voice dared whisper, leap from the fray of the bound nest, and the fingers fed her like earth-grown worms, powerful and strong, and she flared her font, found her song. I probably should have mentioned it. It had to do with typing, because I don't know if that comes through in like hearing the, like typing the keys, like when you're typing out the.
Well, there's so many kinds of expression. I find there's a lot of expression in the poem, like the sounds of the birds, and how they finally find their voice, and the font, the idea of the font. The font flaring. I thought that's great. Like, it matters what you use, and it's interesting that you tie together embodiment and voice and expression. I think that's so true from my own journey as well. I think that's beautiful.
Right. It made me think of what you were saying at the beginning about being in a class. If you have a few women with you, that will just be sort of a felt presence that will help. I feel like that speaks to embodiment a bit too, just the presence of their beings there, their bodies and themselves. Yeah.
Excellent. So this is Jennie Meyer, and you're listening to The Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and I'm going to play a short clip of music, and we will be right back. You're listening to K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org, and in the Santa Cruz area, 90.7 FM.
Don't run for cover when that storm comes. Don't run for cover when that storm comes. Storm coming, yeah. Don't run for cover, no. Don't run from the coming storm, 'cause you can't keep the storm from coming.
This is the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and we are here at the Squid, K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. And our guest today is Jennie Meyer. Hi, Jennie.
Hi.
Hey. So I went to your just gorgeous webpage. I wanted to just give that out again. It's thedreamnest.co. And there's a particular phrase I saw that I wanted to ask you to say more about.
Okay.
We all have odd and precise counsel within us. Say more about odd and precise counsel.
Right. Well, that's a quote from Ross Gay, a wonderful poet who his book is the catalog of unabashed gratitude, and that poem I was quoting from is also called that. And a dream, he has, I think, 3 dreams in that one poem, and one robin is giving him odd and advice counsel to speak, to speak as with the beautiful, rusty brass trumpets and everything that's coming out of him, and despite the sort of the gnarliness of life, and that really resonates with me because I really resonated with that other person. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, who was also a poet that you interviewed.
Sue Scavo? We had a couple poets on recently. There was also
Right.
Gilda Marina.
I listened to the one Sue Scavo, and I really resonated with the idea of the teacher within, and that dreams give us that dreams give us that odd and precise counsel. And of course, it's odd. A lot of people say, "Oh, you don't want to know my dreams," and I felt that way about my disembodiment dream. Like, nobody wants to know that I have that quality in me that could do that to somebody. But so that's odd. Like, it's worse than odd. It felt like, how could I do that? I didn't even want to say, but it's not. But these odd things are bringing us, if we just sit down with them and explore them, really important messages. So I just want people to know who feel like, oh, you don't want to know my dreams, that those dreams, I often find the shadow dreams are, when I look into them, sometimes it's hard, sometimes I don't want to, but when I do, they just bring such beautiful counsel.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you would share another one of those of your dreams about the shadow.
Yeah, another one of my dreams about the shadow. Let me think.
Just, one that maybe brought you some wisdom, because I know certainly it can take a while for things to percolate. And so maybe I have a dream that's really uncomfortable, and it may be uncomfortable with me for a while until it sort of kind of starts to have a resolution, or starts to sink in, starts to mean something. But there's often a period with a difficult dream where it's just a difficult dream, and that's the truth of it. I mean, there are people with nightmares, and I get it. They don't want to have nightmares anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't. There are ways to get away from that, and yet there's also a lot of wisdom very often in those very difficult dreams, as I've found.
Right. Well, there was this the dream about this big, huge snake following the woman, and also the one about stuffing the doves. I mean, I woke up and I was not happy. I was like, how could I do that? How could I be stuffing doves into what looked like, toilet bowl solution, like when the toilet water is blue?
Oh, yeah. That's horrible. I hate that smell.
Oh, awful chemical. And how can I be doing that? And as I worked with it and sat and meditated with it and did some dream exercises with it and wrote, I realized, I also set those birds free.
Yes.
I noticed what I was doing, and I set them free. And I think I often try too hard to, if I'm thinking about that maybe as like the central channel, because it was like a long test tube, a clear tube.
Oh, I see.
Sometimes I really try so hard to make everything right, even if it's in my spiritual practice or my dream practice, and it's a little bit like just letting it go. Let's just letting the energy soar and letting go of that, again, of that mind control.
I just got an image that it's sort of an image of a flock of doves just kind of leaping into the air and flying, like after a wedding or for a ceremony, or there's something just free, something bursting free of the idea of this whole cluster, a dozen doves or something leaping into the air and flying.
Right.
As they're born to do, as we are born to do. We're born for that kind of expression. And so often we're stuffing it down in with the dirty toilet water. Don't say that.
True, though, right? Oh, and yeah, those are the other dreams, the dirty toilet water
Oh, my
dreams. We
goodness.
all have them,
So
right?
many toilet dreams. Yes.
I've had, like, now that we're talking, like, oh, I could have talked about those dreams too, but this one ties in more with the general theme.
Yeah. But there's something really tender there, like about noticing, like, how do I stuff my doves down deep inside me? Like, how do I stuff them away into stinky, smelly place? Like, there's the tenderness of that.
Yeah.
And you're going to notice that, and rather not thinking like shame about it, but it's just like, wow, that's really sad.
Yeah. Right.
And
right.
it ties so much into the dream that you read about the birds, all the birds breaking free and finding their voice, and that reminds me of the doves, of course, from that dream.
Right, and for me, it ties into the whole idea of the goddess and, earth goddess, bird goddess sometimes called. Some of the earliest images of the goddess are winged, early
Oh, I didn't
ancient.
know that.
Yeah, and so birds are seen as symbols of the goddess. And I've had, many dreams and poems about birds, and it's a real theme I have around my neck, indigo bunting that I got on Etsy. I haven't done a lot of dream shopping, but I've done two, and they're both blue, interestingly. One's a VW bus. But,
well, that's a big object.
Well, no.
You're talking about a necklace or something.
Just a little like table, like a 3.5-inch little bus.
Oh, okay.
But it was about a teacher in a dream or like a wise woman elder who was a doctor who had a VW bus, and I had my mom van, my minivan, and I was looking at her bus and my minivan, thinking, and her bus was attached to a whole gift shop. So that was when I started with the IDS, and so I believe that was my inner teacher who was moving in a wonderful gift-filled direction that maybe the transitioning away from the mom minivan.
Yes, honoring that phase of the life, but what's next? Yes. Right. And so doing the IDS program must have been a huge kind of leap of faith or something, investment at least.
It was, I mean, it was exactly, I found it 2 weeks before it started and had to do all the application, just sort of, and I was already doing some other class, and so it was in that way it was a leap. But in terms of what's right for me, I was like, this is it. So I knew I had to do it.
Okay. Yeah, when you get that impulse, when you get that, this is right, then that's something to really pay attention to and respect.
Right.
Yes. So I'm wondering, we have a few minutes before our next break. I'm wondering if you'd like to, we could go one of two ways. I'll leave it open to you. I'm Gemini, so I present options. We could read another poem, or you could talk some more about the Earth Goddess, or maybe you want to share one of your Earth Goddess
I'll
poems.
do both by reading you a poem.
Perfect.
This one's called The Bird Goddess.
Okay.
I don't know how much time I have to give a tiny preamble, but it's...
Sure, go ahead.
I'm in the Cape Ann Poets is this amazingly wise group of elders who I am blessed to have been included into, and we just put out a book, and we each take turns bringing a prompt, and my prompt one week was to write a ghazal or guzzle, maybe pronounced huzzle, which is a form of poetry that's in couplets that has a repeating word at the end of words at the end of each of the second lines. It describes pain or loss and separation, and yet the beauty of love in spite of that pain. Traditionally a love poem, but that's not what I like. I'm not doing the coupled love. And part of the form is to refer to a name at the end. And so Avis is the name I use, and it's the Latin meaning bird. And also I talk about Kabul to Maine, and Kabul is also a province, not just a city. So that was interesting to find out. So anyway, here's the poem. Also inspired by, where'd it go? also inspired by these dreams that we've been talking about.
Okay, great.
The bird goddess. I know it's overused, the metaphor, our restless urge to say how birds fly. But Tempest Williams explains we women once had wings, calls us to relearn the way birds fly. The oldest carved likenesses of Earth Goddess show us she was winged. Her song rings through time's long, luminous throat. Yet over and away, birds fly from the guns, from humans once clamoring to capture their diaphanous, decorous fringe, wring necks and plaster it over women like emus, like ostriches kept caged, not birds who fly. Why the passenger pigeons, Eskimo curlews, ascension night herons, do we let them slip away? Breath, feathers, and wings. To extinction failing songbirds fly as we pluck Earth's plumage, her feathered fern, sweetgrass, sever her soaring span of trees. Ancients adored her lofty might, her clutch, her sight, her symphonious strain. All birds fly, while still in homes from Kabul to Maine, the stretching, sinuous form in the nest, the fledgling on the cusp, the streamlined, keen-eyed vocalizing airborne thrust is stuffed into a pretty likeness of what it is to be Avis, a wingless girl, a decoy, floating in a lily pond, to please, to ease the hunt. Sing, orate, mandate, Jenny, so birds will fly.
Thank you. Thank you. That's just gorgeous. Whoop.
Weaving in some multiple layers of themes. And then we're at the end of the ghazal is supposed to be an invocation or a command kind of thing. So
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That's just a real journey there. Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is. I'm feeling the freedom of just like to flutter. I'm thinking of the word flutter.
I feel like I'm like constantly working with the themes of voice and freedom and flight and environment and Mother Earth. So that's and female sort of subjugation in many ways throughout the eons, and so that's sort of what I was trying to do.
Yeah, there's something about the Earth Goddess confined and kind of down into this beautiful form, which feels like trapped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the feminine can be oppressed. It has been oppressed.
Exactly.
Yeah, and yet here we are. You know, the bursting forth.
That's right. It's true. It's definitely wouldn't have expected that, and so here we are. Here I am with you.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Exactly. I know, and it's just such a leap to take wing and see what emerges. Just wait and see. So the Earth Goddess. Well, let me just say this is Jennie Meyer and my guest Jennie Meyer on the Dream Journal. And my name is Catherine Bell, and this is the Squid, K-Squid. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the phones. Tony Russomanno's around here, and if not, I can go get the phone. So let's just go ahead and see if we have any questions, or for Jenny or for me. The phone number to call is 831-900-5773. You can also still send an email. Email is always a good thing. At onair@ksqd.org, onair@ksqd.org, and let us know if you have a question. This is, the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell. Thanks.
Take me dancing, take me singing, I'll ride on till the moon meets the
All right, this is the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and you are listening to The Squid. It's another gorgeous musical selection from Jennie Meyer, and we are talking about earth goddesses, or shall we say bird goddess?
Either way.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah.
Dream poetry and the odd and precise wisdom of the dreams that we have every night. So the phones are open. If you'd like to call in, you're welcome to give us a ring. The number is 831-900-5773, or you can send an email at onair@ksqd.org. The phone number again is 831-900-5773 in the Santa Cruz area. Okay, Jennie. So what is up for you? What is your focus now? Like one of the things, what's coming up for you? Let me just ask you.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now. That's it. Not planning. Let's just we're talking about dreams and goddesses.
I was thinking about the people that I work with.
Yeah.
In dreams, and how I did ask permission to share a few things. Okay. And so I was like, I hope if they listen, I'll get to that.
Yeah, perfect. Well, let's do that then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also one thing that you mentioned in the promo was that I do have a labyrinth, or my work with labyrinths.
Ah, yes.
And
I
decided.
Go ahead, say a little bit about labyrinths. What are they, and what is their power?
Right. So labyrinths are like living mandalas. I could come at it from so many different ways, but I've been reading Jung, Active Imagination book, and he wrote about the power of mandalas and the sacred act of circulation around the still point, or the center, and talked about moving around that center and walking the sacred spiral is the same thing. And the way he talks about it seems to be so connected to while walking the labyrinth, and it dates back to so many of the earliest human cultures. This process, and so for me, when I walk the labyrinth, I'm trained in Buddhism, which is a lot of in the Vipassana, dropping down the thoughts, which is so important, but also shamanic journeying, which is sort of allowing the imaginal realm to speak, and trusting it. And so that's often what happens. It's a process of both dropping down and then allowing and sort of the nature around me, and also the spirit realm to speak in different ways. And I was walking it one day, and the inspiration came to include it in a dream workshop or a dream series.
So you're walking it in your is it your personal labyrinth? You have it in your
It is. I went to Kripalu. I don't know if you're familiar with that over on the West Coast, but
oh no, I know it.
They have a labyrinth, and it was the first time I actually engaged with one on a deep level, and some things happened, and I got bit by the bug and came home and just magically somehow created a labyrinth through finding a grid that like a square with points, pointed grid that somehow becomes a labyrinth. I have no idea how I did it, but it happened.
So you created it in your yard, like with rocks and stuff, like you could, like a full-size walkable labyrinth. Very nice.
And so that's my journeying. That's I took a 9-month journeying class, and that's a lot of how I did my journeying. And so then I was walking it, and the inspiration came to include that as another modality of dream work. And so I had to think about how. And we had 3 sessions, and then I let the women know to bring one of their dream elements or messages or figures into that you want to know more about or want to deepen with, and bring that as your focus of meditation or centering into the labyrinth as your question.
So you hold the image of the dream while you're walking the labyrinth? Is that the idea?
Right, or of the aspect of the dream. Sometimes the whole dream would be a lot, but I think one woman did bring her whole dream, and that was a recurring dream, actually, and
those are always so powerful.
Yeah, and she said, as we gathered afterwards, she said, I finally discovered the message of this recurring dream, which had to do with self-empowerment, where it wasn't clear to her before. And then I also had them pick goddess cards, and just, it's just so beautiful because the card she picked really tied into the message that she got from the walk. And another participant didn't bring an element from a dream, but from a couple of visionary experiences of Mother Mary. And she, in that experience, she sort of visited her again in that walk, and it sort of deepened that whole experience that she had over parts of her life. And
so it's another way of kind of embodying the unconscious, perhaps, or the subconscious, to just kind of access that. Is that, do you think that's going on?
Yeah, if you want to see it that way, or if you want to see it from a journeying way, like I say with people, people are coming from all different kinds of backgrounds, and some people are shaman, from the shaman background, and from that perspective, it's beyond the unconscious. It's our reality is arising. This is how I see it in energy, and it appears to us in certain ways, and it's appearing as we walk the labyrinth in certain ways. Maybe through our right brain. And then also it could be stuff from our unconscious coming up.
Well, I'm starting to evolve my view of the subconscious. It isn't necessarily just some part of my own brain, that I think maybe that we're accessing parts beyond ourselves. Like we maybe share this little bit of the kind of the collective unconscious that Carl Jung talks about, which I always thought was weird. I didn't get it, but is there some way that we're kind of accessing parts of ourselves that extend to the past and to the future and to other people and to other creatures and the spirits of the land? Is there some way that this is something that it's like a faculty rather than a part of my mind? That is some way that I can sense things without understanding them? I don't know. For me, I guess my sense of the subconscious has really expanded over time.
Yes, I hear you. Same with me. And on one way, we'll never know. In another way, it's important to keep reflecting on it.
Yeah, it is. So I like that Labyrinth. I've had a couple Labyrinth experiences. Once at Grace Cathedral, and then I've actually just recently come back from Harbin Hot Springs up in near Calistoga, and they have a Labyrinth there as well. And then down Brightonbush, in Oregon, up in Brightonbush in Oregon, there's another one, and they're all just different sizes and made of different materials, inside, outside. But there is something about the pattern and walking with somebody else too that is beautiful. It's like, and that you're starting. It's like a spiral, but you start to go inward, and then you're maybe swept back out to the outside. So it's not just a simple from outside to inside. It actually can take you in unexpected directions, which is lovely. And of course, that's what dreams do, and that's what our life does. Really, it takes us in unexpected directions. It's
so true. And the particular kind, and I can't remember the names. I'm not good remembering names, but that I made. It sort of looks like a brain, and so you are sort of crossing over the brain stem, or the central, the center. It's sort of two halves of a whole, and so this is the idea of coming to the center, but including both sides. It's very harmonizing of this sort of broader circle shape. So it feels like it does match it feels like it's integrating and centering the brain and the being,
I bet. Well, they say the movements that cross the center line of the body do integrate the hemispheres of the brain, and so probably on a larger scale as well, these back and forth movements.
Right, and it's interesting because my, you say they come in all shapes and sizes, and yes, I did it with rock, but I know where my rocks are. I realize as the little wildflowers grow up where the rocks are, other people might not see them so well. And so when I went in first, but then they followed. But when they entered, I realized it was sort of chaos for a little bit, because they didn't really see the path the way I think the path is clear, which is its own experience. And it's not really important that you stay on the path, but it is a nice experience to follow and to go in and then to go out, and you won't do that if you get on the wrong track. And so I had to sort of quietly, without speaking, sort of reroute everybody to follow me, and I had just picked a card, the goddess card, Ellen of the Ways, which she's the deer goddess, and that has been another really important earth-based goddess that has been with me in a whole other dream journey during the same time, which I can't get into right now, but I felt like almost like she was then coming to me to help me be this sort of grandmother deer, because in the reindeer tribes, the grandmother deer is the leader of the pack, the herd, and I just sort of felt like I had that. It just came to me that that this was the way. These were the ways, and it was a lovely experience leading them through the labyrinth.
That's fabulous. I hope you have many more wonderful labyrinth experiences, and now that it's part of your property too, then you're really like starting the conversation with the spirits of the land by
really,
putting this sacred object on it. Yes.
Yeah.
So we still have time for a caller. I'm going to give out the number one more time in case somebody wants to call. The number is 831-900-5773, and you can take questions, or you can share a dream if you have, or some dream poetry. Again, that number 831-900-5773, or you can send an email to onair@ksqd.org. And this is Jennie Meyer. My name is Catherine Bell, and you're listening to K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. So, Jennie, I'm wondering, do you want to read another poem here? Yeah, it feels like this might be a good space for that.
Well, I'm trying to decide which one, if I only have one more to read. Right. So I'll read this one. I have worked with Nadia Colburn for a long time as sort of my poetry mentor, and we spent a long time working with Mary Oliver in a lovely in-person group before COVID. And she really, Mary Oliver, as a nature spirit poet, really, and I hear the birds in the background in the in the track, really got deep into me. And so when she died, I cried, and she died, 10 days before my mom or something. And she really seemed like a wise elder to me. And so here is a poem called Resurrecting Bard, in memory of Mary Oliver, which I wrote just a bit after she died. And it's about a dream of her.
Okay.
So, you walk out my open door in the blooming light before I wake, dressed in egret white, stepping onto the stones of your poems, nodding to each leaf, each slivering glint of sun on every living thing, lifting your arms like great snowy wings. When I shoulder into the day, old thoughts like vultures rupturing sleep, I wish I could be you, entering the cool pond of dawn with praise. And then I have to laugh, and I think I hear an egret passing overhead that laughs too. There you are, in my dream, in me, stepping through my door onto my own pebbles of poems, into this one wild and precious life, spreading my long pale arms. This is what you meant by miracle.
Lovely.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just really
It's beautiful.
feeling like, and this is before the whole, my deep dive into dream work, but, I don't have to wish that, that in some way out there, I could do that. Like, she was in my dream. that was a part of me.
There she is, yes. And that the one quote, the homage to Mary Oliver, one wild and precious life, that's one of my favorite lines of hers. And And it's interesting synchronicity with the birds in the background of the music.
I know. There she was laughing. So, yeah.
There it is.
Because she talked a lot about that sort of the cycle of life, and the vultures eating the carrion, and then rising up. You know, that's life.
That is. That is.
So. Yeah.
Okay. So Jennie, your webpage is dreamnest.co, right? The dreamnest.co. And I wonder if you could say a little bit to folks about, you have something called the Dream Discovery Series. Or is that something you want to talk about? What kind of things do you offer folks to?
Right. Well, I have sort of 3 different offerings right now, and maybe more in the future. But one's just a workshop, which is sort of a quick dive into dreams with some great exercises that we do sort of individually, but in a group, and then we share our findings. And we don't go into one person's dream exclusively, sort of, but that's what we save for the Dream Discovery Series, where we do maybe one small group exercise and sharing, and then each night we'll dive into 1 or 2 people's dreams. And so I just feel like, I think I heard you talking maybe in that same interview that I listened to with the poet,
yes,
about the, or maybe it was another one, but about the idea of dream work, and
right.
my first potential interview sort of fizzled because she said, well, my people don't want to work. And I was like, maybe I should change the name of what we do, because, of course, there's an aspect of work and play in many things, many disciplines. But so that I called it a Dream Discovery Series. So it's sort of a 4-night, once a week experience, as I described, with a little group work and a little deep dive personal work, where we discover the mysteries of the dreams and what they're bringing to us.
Right. Yeah, that is something. The whole idea of work is I try to dream exploration and dream sharing. There's that is something about that it's kind of off-putting. Well, it's like the dream interpretation. I don't think any of us really interpret dreams in the way that the Freudian classical, your dream means X.
Right.
That's
Although I think there is sometimes an expectation, like, good, so you get to tell me what my dreams mean.
Right.
So
no, it doesn't
it's
work
more of a
that.
discovery.
It is. So I like that word to use
Thank you.
as part of that exploration. So is through your webpage the best way for folks to get in touch with you, or do you have another email address you want to give out or anything?
I have a contact page, and it will go right to my dreamnest.co email.
Okay,
So
the dreamnest.co. And so Jennie Meyer, that's how you can get in touch with her. And I wonder if you have any final thoughts for our listeners. Are there any encouragements or just phrases that are on your mind to share right now? What would you like to share?
Sometimes people ask, why the goddess, and I really feel like we all come, taking sort of a Jungian approach. We all have both male and female energies within us. And for so long, the sort of the male, and if you want to sort of connect it with mind, it's not so easily cut up like that. But for the purposes of this, that the left brain male dominant energies have been so strong in all of us. I had, when I was writing in high school, I realized the voice in my head was male. When I went to write a paper. And, when I sit down to pray as a Christian, the people I was praying to were male. How do I integrate I'm a female, half of this world are females, or, we or a combination, and I love the combinations because it's embodying both. And how do we then integrate our own energies if everything for me in my head was male, and sometimes problematic because of that. And so I just feel like the goddess and the earth goddess particularly are so critical to consider, especially for the earth, but also for us and our relationship with it. And I think that's one of the most important ways we can honor her and maybe bring some change.
Okay, well, thank you. Jenny, this was a wonderful conversation. I'm all for bringing in those feminine voices and including inside of our own heads.
Thank you so much, Kat. This was such a pleasure, such a treat, and an honor to be asked. Yeah.
Great. Well, take care. Hopefully I'll see you soon, one at a conference or other or somewhere online. Just keep in touch.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So next week we have as our guest local sculptor Maren Hearn, who will talk about her own journey with dreams and also about the powerful and the universal emotion of shame. You can listen to the live broadcast next Saturday at 10 or catch the podcast replay, which as always will be released on the Monday following the show.
Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss.
I am Catherine Bell, and this has been the Dream Journal. Thanks for listening. You can find out more about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com, and you can email me at catherine@ksqd.org. That's KATHERINE at ksqd.org. If you have a dream you're curious about, please contact me so I can sign you up for a free introductory dream consultation. Thank you for everyone who's left a review on Apple Podcasts. I would love it if you'd leave me some stars and review as well. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, Tony Rissimano, Eva Milady, and the KSQD donors. We couldn't be here if you weren't here too. So we are 100% listener supported. If you go to ksqd.org and show us some love, be sure to tell them that you are a Dream Journal listener. When you wake up tomorrow morning, take a minute to look within. Do you remember a dream? Write it down and bring it to the next Dream Journal. I am Catherine Bell, and you are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz.
Trying to take away my